Everybody ready? All right. It is 1:30 on November 9th. We'll call the Wright County Health and Human Services Board to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So as we get going here, we're going to begin with doing a roll call just so we can get a good attendance since there's a large number of people online. So I'm kind of calling down here. I see we have Commissioner Burrell online. We have Commissioner Hewsome. We have Christine Partlow. I'm going to skip you, Jamie, since you're in the room physically as well. We have Jill Pooler. We have, is that Kate Dahl? We have Kelly, I can't even read my Chafee. We have Kimberly Johnson. We have Commissioner Dahliden. We have, I can't even, is that?
Mason is also in the room.
Mason's already in the room. Unfortunately, I issued bird distance glasses. We have Michelle Miller online. We have Shelley Stocco. Is there anyone below that? Is my scrolling down? Nope. Shelley's the last. Shelley's the last. Okay. Believe if there's anybody else, one last call if we have missed anyone else. If I have not, we will proceed with the dispensing of the minutes from the October 12th meeting. If anyone would like to make a motion for the approval or modifications from the October 12th meeting. Commissioner Hewsome has made a, is that a, I see a hand, is that looks like a yes? We have no audio, is there a, sorry.
Oh, you're muted. That's why, Christine.
Just for the record, I need a actual Commissioner Hewsome.
Yeah, sorry about that. My Alt A was not working, so I apologize.
Okay,
I make motions. Minutes.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hewsome. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Burrell will second.
I have a motion, second by Commissioner Burrell. Any other discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Hewsome?
Aye.
Commissioner Burrell?
Burrell votes aye.
Commissioner Dahliden? Commissioner Dahliden? Mark?
I vote aye. You guys keep tricking in and out on me.
All right, and aye for myself. Minutes are approved unanimously. Okay, now we're moving on to the third item. We'll do the review of the approval of the agenda. Is there anything else that'd like to be added to today's agenda?
Mr. Chair, it's Commissioner Burrell. I just want to say the one item where it says to cancel the second meeting, I would actually like to have the second meeting this month and have the presentation from Rhea Borman Spears. So.
Okay, so we will we'll make that as the.
I don't know if we have to change the agenda right now, but just so everyone's aware of it.
Okay, so we'll discuss that item at the canceling of that. Then at the we'll remove that from the consent agenda, and we'll discuss the canceling of that meeting as the first timed item.
Commissioner, I have removal from the consent agenda.
Yep, we have a removal of the canceling of the November 23rd HHS meeting. We'll discuss it then.
And also the employee of the month was not able to be with us today, and she would be able to come in for the next meeting, so either the end of the month or the December meeting.
Okay, so we'll remove the employee of the month at this point. All right.
Thank you.
With that, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Burrell will move that.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Burrell. Second by Commissioner Hewsome. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Commissioner Burrell?
Burrell votes aye.
Commissioner Hewsome?
Aye.
Commissioner Dahliden?
Aye.
And aye. Agenda is approved. Moving on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that would like to be changed from the consent agenda other than the removal of the 1123, which was done under the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hewsome, second by Commissioner Dahliden. Any further discussion? Hearing none?
Uh,
Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, one quick question.
Yes.
The person, the employee of the month, are they stationed at the HHS building or at the county building?
She is at the HSC.
Okay.
All right. So, with the no other comments, so we'll do a roll call vote on the consent agenda. Commissioner Dahlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Hewsome?
Aye.
Commissioner Burrell?
Aye.
And aye. Consent agenda is approved unanimously. We will move on to the, actually that would be the regular agenda. We'll bring to the discussion of the request to cancel the November 23rd HHS board meeting and schedule it for a future item. Commissioner Burrell, you have the floor.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and I know there was some concern that was put out by the county attorney's office and stuff. I did talk with Attorney Rita Boyman Spears, and she said that it is anything that the county attorney did not want her to talk about as far as like a risk assessment. She said she's fine pulling that out. I just want to hear a different perspective from things, and now, just so the board's aware too, she has reached out to John Bowen at the county attorney's office. She's called him, emailed him, and asked him to be, part of the presentation even, so that she could get, John's perspective too. And I hope he does, I hope he is able to make it 2 weeks from now, and because I think it's good for us as commissioners to learn a little bit more about what goes on and things like that. So, but she said she's fine with that, taking that out. I think one of the main reasons she wanted it to talk about it, and I think this part is okay, excuse me, run out of wind here, because Hennepin County was sued, and they came up with a whole bunch of changes that they were going to implement. And I think that wouldn't be bad for us to take a look at the things that Hennepin County agreed to and see if that isn't something that we're already doing or something that we could do. So I think that with that perspective, I think it would still be good to, but I understand the county attorney's concern about, providing legal advice to the county. I don't think that was her intent, and she said she would not do that, so.
Having reviewed the information from the county attorney's office as well as the discussion regarding what the information is going to be prepared for, I look at it as not so much as a risk assessment as just an informational point to the board, offering a different perspective. I am comfortable with reviewing the information and allowing that presentation from my personal perspective, but I'm open to conversation from Commissioner Hewsome and Commissioner Dahlin.
Mr. Chair, has the case been settled yet?
I have to defer. I haven't got a definitive answer on that.
I'm not sure what the status is. I know there was a response from the county attorney to an outside person asking a question that it's still being litigated, so their response would have to go to the court. However, I believe the judge has made a decision, so I don't know if it's a time period afterwards. So I'm not honestly sure, Commissioner DeLayden. Michelle Miller is on the call, and I'm not sure. Michelle, do you know what the status is? As of Friday last week, it was under litigation based on a response to somebody.
And Mr. Chair?
Yes.
The other thing too, there's always going to be a case. I mean, there's cases continually going on all the time. We're not talking about anything case specific here. That is the point that I want to make. We're looking at just general things and what's best for our kids, and it's stuff that we all say all the time. We want what's best for the kids, and this is maybe a little different perspective than what. It's not coming from the county as far as what's best for the kids. It might be a little different opinion, but it will be nothing case specific. So we don't need to. It wouldn't matter if a particular case was settled or not. There'll always be a case, and if that was, there'll always be something before the county.
Well, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. Commissioner Hewsome, do you have any comments?
Chris, you were muted yet, but anyway.
Are you okay with it, Christine?
I don't know why my Alt-A isn't working today for some reason, but no comments.
Okay, then I will, we'll move forward with holding the November 23rd HHS board meeting. Commissioner Burrell, I will assume you will work with admin and HHS staff to get this facilitated. At that meeting, we will also take care of our employee of the month at that meeting as well, and any other business we need to attend to. We can maybe discuss at that time whether we need to hold a meeting in December. Since we'll be having a late one in November, we maybe could forego December depending on what you guys need to
Well,
accomplish.
yeah, it would
And
depend
Mr.
on
Chair?
what item.
Yes, Commissioner Burrell.
I was just gonna say too, I mean, even though I know Rhea has reached out to John, you know, but maybe he's busy or something too, but I would welcome somebody from the county attorney's office. We're gonna have our HHS people. We're gonna have, you know, hopefully we could get somebody from the county attorney's office and have Rhea, so we can kind of have a discussion, because I'm going to be off the board here. Probably should have done this 8 years ago. I would have learned a lot more, you know, early on. But I think it's important for the board to hear all the different viewpoints, and because I know everybody's working what's best for the children, and just to see their different perspectives. That's what I want to see. And I'd like to actually have that input from the county attorney's office. So if somebody can reach out to John or somebody up there, would be nice.
Duly noted, Commissioner Burrell. We will make sure that at least somebody from the county attorney's office is represented as well. With that, maybe we will probably still need to have a December meeting.
Yeah,
but,
maybe we'll have a better idea at the next November meeting. It was our goal to bring our policies and procedures back for kind of the annual review for the permission to go forward with them for 2021. So it's not necessarily urgent, but it's something that we have standing on the
Sure,
agenda.
which is fine, because we can just have a short meeting in December, so.
Okay.
All right. With that then, there's no action necessary since we're not canceling it. We're just continuing that November 23rd meeting. Okay, we will move on to the agenda item number 2, which is the Social Services, Public Health, Financial Services Approval Resolution 2005, October donations.
Excuse me, Commissioner, we have a new hire.
I'm sorry, I always miss that new hire part. I always view that in part of the...
Yeah, so we would like to introduce, and she could turn her camera on. So we have Kelly Chafee. Kelly, could you turn your camera on for the board, please?
Mine's on.
Maybe you can put-
We can see her, Jamie.
Oh, you can, okay.
We can see her.
All right. So, board, I would like to introduce, or reintroduce, actually, Kelly Chafee. She's a case aide in our family health unit. She started November 2nd, but she's a returning employee who left a few years ago to care for her very young children, and she is returning to us, and we're very happy to have her back. So welcome back, Kelly.
Thank you.
Kelly, thank you for returning back here with experience with Red County and coming back to work for this great organization. We're happy to have you. Is there any other board members that would have any other questions they'd like to ask?
No, I'm just glad she decided that the right county is the right place to be.
Yep, I will echo Commissioner Leiden's comment.
Well, Kelly, looks like you get to escape any kind of major questioning or interrogation. You have a wonderful day, and thank you for returning.
Thank you.
All right, wonderful. If there's no other else in the new hires, which I don't see, we will move then back to the agenda item number 2 of the resolution for October's donations. Any questions or comments, or I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Dahl-Iden.
Burrell will second.
Second by Commissioner Burrell. I seen you, Christine, moving your lips, but I didn't get any audio.
I'm giving up.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussions? Hearing none. Commissioner Hewsome.
Aye.
Commissioner Burrell.
Burrell votes aye.
Commissioner Dahl-Iden.
Aye.
And aye. Resolution passes unanimously.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to the second item, third item on the agenda, the presentation of the 2020 Dhs Performance Reports.
I am trying to bring my screen up and with my think is up. I see. I'm almost there, Jim, it's okay. So then I'm gonna grab my PowerPoint slideshow, hopefully. Well, I believe you, do they have this in their PowerPoint as well? Sorry, Jim, I was hoping it would save him a trip to the front. It worked before the meeting. Okay. Thank you, Jim. So board, you have, we thought we would compile our DHS performance reports that we received in 2020 and just go over them with you. We just received some new ones. They kind of staggered these throughout the year. So this is our Wright County DHS performance reports through their performance unit. And again, we always tie our strategic imperatives back into our performance. So again, just to remind the board that our 4 strategic imperatives are program development, community service, culture and development, and efficiency and quality. We uphold those. And then for the reporting period, July of 2019 through June of 2020, our adult protection performance report shows, and I might need to get my glasses on, that we've improved from 90.48% on the percent of no repeat adult maltreatment within 6 months to 94.44%, and there's no PIP decision on that. So we do not have to do a PIP. I don't, and actually oh, they're on my head. That was good. Just so all of the excitement, I don't want to abate too much, but we do not have any performance improvement plans that we need to do this year throughout this presentation. On our child support performance report, which is, again, they use all different periods, October 1st of last year through September 30th of this year, we're at 93.01% of, I believe this is collections, and at 105.31% regarding our established cases. And again, no PIP required on either of those. We're well above the threshold of 80% on collections and 90% on the establishment. The 80% on collections is actually, I think I might be saying that wrong, because those are too high for collections. I'll have to actually look and see what this one is. But regardless, we're well above the threshold on the very first item there. Oh, I'm sorry, percent of open child support cases with an order established, and the percent of open child support cases with paternity established.
How do you get over 100%? I guess
Okay, I knew somebody was going to ask the question, how do you get 105%? It's because they use the numerator of the current year and the denominator, I think, of the earlier year, so you get disparity in the numbers, because the pool of children changes over the course of time. So I hope that makes sense to people, and that's what I'm going to stick with. I've read it plenty of times, but it's the difference in the 2 different years with the different numerators, I believe. So this is the one I was actually very, very proud of and very happy about, and I think we can be very proud of our child support workers and happy for our families that receive child support. The percent of child support paid that's collected is 80.22% of the total that's owed on the obligations. At 80%, we start maximizing the incentive revenue that we get from the state for current support, and you can see that we're above not only our regional performance, that's at 79.19%, but well above the state performance average of 75.41%.
So that would be an interesting, when you're over 100%, then you'd have to make the assumption that one of 2 things. One is that you'd be assuming that your number of children are decreasing from year to next, and you're still collecting at the same amount, which therefore you put you over 100%, or you're having less cases in general of people filing for child
Right.
support.
So I think it's not, I think the 105% isn't related to collections. The 105% is related to how many kids the year before without a support order established, and then how many kids the following year without a court order established.
Okay, so we're declining year after year from.
Right,
the
and
number.
then, and I have not seen that number be less than 100% for Wright County for many years. So it must be a trending one.
Interesting.
Then for our child safety and permanency and the Mfit and DWP self-support index, which I'm hoping that one doesn't elicit a question because that's even more confusing than the over 100% one. In this area, the percent of children with a substantiated maltreatment report who do not experience a repeated substantiated maltreatment report within 12 months, we're very happy to say is 100%. So we had no children who experienced a repeated substantiated maltreatment report. So we're at 100%. Last year we were at 99%. Our region is at 96.6%, and the state right now is at 93.8%. So based on that, the performance is equal or above the threshold, and there is no PIP required.
Very good.
Awesome job, everybody.
Yeah, and this just keeps getting good and gooder. If I hit enter, it's going to give me the information, right, Amy? So our percent of children discharged from out-of-home placement to permanency in less than 12 months, we're at 50.8%. The threshold for this indicator is 40.5%. And we increased from, it looks like in 2019, 49.5%. But we were down in the low 40s not too long ago.
This is impressive considering the COVID and the courts doing what they did, that they were able to still keep those numbers, in that 12-month window to.
Right, so like, and we do see this monthly, and it's always kind of pushing it, and some of these from out-of-home placement to permanency, we're dependent on not only the courts, but we're dependent on DHS doing some of their reviews and all those kinds of things. So some of these, it's like we cross our fingers because we absolutely, it's our number and we own the number, but we are dependent on other variables in order to achieve it.
So I'm assuming that the courts have fixed their guardian ad litem issue that we were dealing with a while back that was that was pushing us against the wall on this issue.
I haven't heard that, but I would agree with you that because I haven't heard about it lately, that I would agree that they've made some progress on it. So I don't know, Michelle, are you able to provide any update on the guardian ad litem issue that was around about a year ago?
Jamie, you and I were just talking not too long ago about the fact that our CGI hasn't met for quite a while. Yeah. The last couple of meetings we've had, they've not talked about the guardian ad litems and the previous difficulties they've had, but I do know that there were some changes made. I believe it was to not only their pay structure, but just the types of cases. They became more specialized instead of needing to be generalists. They specialized, so workers either have a civil caseload or like a CHIPS caseload, and apparently that has helped.
So they must have hired some people and they specialized, and between those two things, they're holding up the load at this point.
Yeah, I know they let go of all their office space, so all of their workers, and this was probably, I bet it's over a year now, all their staff just office from home. So I think they were able to make some of those changes too that hopefully led to increased pay for their staff, which the guardian ad litem's pay was rock bottom. It was pretty bad.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Hopefully the PowerPoint comes back on.
Or not.
I'm looking at it. While Jim comes over, I'll just let you know that the percent of days in family foster care spent with a relative, which I believe this board has asked about as well over the last few months, and we are again above threshold on that. I believe we're not quite at the same pace as our. Yep, that one I think should pop up here. Here we go. So on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see that the performance is equal or to, it has to be above 35.7. We're more than 20 percentage points above that. But that's still a target that we like to see in all cases go up, because we like to see kids in foster care spending days with relatives. But we're on a good trajectory on that one. So this is the one that has the impossible formula that I will just tell you that we are above. Actually, this is a baseline year, so they'll be looking at our this year 73.39 on the Minnesota Family Investment Program Self-Support Index. I know they use a variety of indices in order to arrive at this number, and they basically just make sure that you're within or above the numerical, the expected performance. So they'll be looking at us this year, and hopefully next year, if we can continue equal to or better, we will pass as we go forward. And this takes a look back, in my understanding, and I believe Kim is on the call, this takes a look back to see how many people over the past period are currently self-sufficient and not on public assistance. But it's a very convoluted type of formula.
And I'm interested to see what this formula does, just because of COVID and the increase in unemployment. It kind of makes for really a messy calculation.
Right, so I think one of the, yeah, we'll see. We have a lot of families right now that I would say are experiencing, we're seeing, you know, people experiencing homelessness and some other kinds of things. Because MFIP is has very strict rules and guidelines, and the income is very low. I can't say we've seen new families joining MFIP at a huge pace. I mean, it's been holding pretty steady. So this is one that I believe we're pretty happy about. This is the one, well, let's see, this one was through December last year. So no PIP required on the percent of SNAP and cash assistance applications processed timely. This one we did increase slightly from 81.6% to 84.1%. And then the percent of expedited SNAP applications, actually we gained a lot of ground. So in this one we're at 70.7%, and this is an area that I believe the board brought to our attention, and we were looking at this to see what we could do to make this get an increase. Because when we were at the 56.7%, I think we were within a point, like a 0.0 something percent difference that would have put us in a kind of a danger zone, because the threshold was 55% at that point. And we did make some changes to how we look at that. If Commissioner DeLayden remembers, we had a few conversations with people down at DHS about what cases are looked at and what they mean by 24 hours. Do they mean 1 business day, or do they mean 24 hours from the time we get it? And I believe whatever our supervisors did in financial assistance to work through that with DHS, our numbers obviously show that it's working. And I think we only implemented that partway through the year, so hopefully even next year we'll see even better gaining ground in that one. So I just wanted to, since we're kind of coming up to the end of the year, acquaint the commissioners with what our DHS performance thresholds are looking like at this point. So no PIPs required, which is extra work. So we're very happy that while we'll still say that we do want to make sure that we're looking at ways that we can improve performance, we're not required to based on the DHS report. So unless you have any questions, that's all I have on that piece.
Yeah, Kim, did we ever get that settled? Did they ever figure out what the hell was going on now at the state level?
We agreed to disagree. They tell us that 24 hours is actually 24 hours, and our results are about 56% when we work off of that formula. And when we work off of our own opinion of what 24 hours means, our result is 70%. So we've agreed to disagree.
So in other words, they still don't know what they're doing.
I think they're sticking to their guns, but that's not proven by the data.
Yeah, but that's the gentleman I talked to, that's not what he had said, so it's just interesting.
Very frustrating.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Burrell.
Kim, and one of the things too, I think some of the bigger counties, Hennepin and Ramsey, they have people that work the weekend for that stuff too, right? And whereas we do not have that after hours kind of personnel available, is that part of the reason we're lower on that?
We don't have people available on the weekends, but I don't believe the other counties do either. It was really our process. They had told us it was 24 hours. We hired a new supervisor from another county. She said, oh my goodness, that's not 24 hours. Didn't you guys know that? And we asked on multiple occasions. Commissioner Delyden, I believe, spoke to Gary Mortensen at DHS. And the information that's out there is clear. It does say 24 hours, but the system cannot recognize a 24-hour period. A system can only recognize a day. So from 8 a.m. till the end of the day. It can't go until tomorrow at 10 or something like that if the thing came in at 10 the day before. So yes, there is some leeway for, like you said, things that come in on the weekend. That's why you don't have to have 100% of them. So if it comes in at 4:30 on a Friday, we're never going to get that perfect. But we're doing the best we can now, and I remember the last time we came with this particular performance report, you said, oh gosh, Kim, if you could just get it to move up a little, just a little, 5%. So I was pretty excited that it took a giant leap and just a little bit of a procedure change on our part, and it's working quite well.
Appreciate the support, report, thank you.
Yeah, good job.
And that has
Thanks.
a double benefit of then people also get their food benefit faster too. So it's kind of a win-win all across. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you. Very good information. I guess we'll move on to the fourth agenda item, information on the sheriff HHS collaboration on WeBar.
No, I'll help you out there. It's WebAR.
WebAR.
And we're going to have a presentation. We have Shauna, we have Gina, with us, and Christine on the Teams call. So I'm not sure how you would like them to approach the podium to do the
I
presentation?
guess so
along
that you
with
can
Christine?
get better audio, probably better off having them come up here.
So, Jamie, I'm going to do the majority of the presentation. So, over the last year, Health and Human Services has worked with the Sheriff's Department to integrate our collection system, which is WebAR or InterPros, for the Sheriff's Office to use. And this has been a team project with Shauna and Gina, who are in the room there with Derek, as well as Kate and Shelley Stotko and Jim as our technical support. The Sheriff's Office has historically utilized various collection agencies for jail debt collection. Due to the difficulties with one collection agency, they ended up writing off through board action a large amount of debt in 2017 after the Sheriff's Office hired Shauna as the business manager. There previously were no rules around debt collection, nor was there a formal process. The evidence of debt owed to the jail exists largely in a very large spreadsheet. By partnering with CBLF, the collection agency, the jail was able to clean up collection rules. They bill after 90 days and then does collection after that. The Sheriff's Office enters the debt in the CBLF portal, and they do well with the locate type cases. Moving forward with WebAR allows both agencies to utilize the best of both worlds. CBLF collection percentages range from 5 to 10% of what is sent to them, which means of every $100 that they send, we're only collecting $5 to $10 of that. So the advantages of partnering with the Sheriff's Department and HHS is that we can internally generate invoices. So the invoice comes from Wright County. It doesn't come from a collection agency. And they have a local point of contact. So they can contact Gina right away if they have questions on their invoice. Where CBLF takes a minimum of 10% and up to 50% of collections, any revenue that we collect the entire thing. WebAR provides the avenue to adequately support and report revenue recapture. So some of these invoices, once they meet the certain time frame, we can enter them into the Minnesota Department of Revenue system and capture their tax returns. That's not an option currently utilized by CBLF. The Sheriff's Department will be starting the use of the Minnesota Department of Revenue recapture for 2021. That did take some additional setup on both parts. Clients, both for HHS and the Sheriff's Department, can make payments and set up payment plans online using our virtual agent. So they can do this at any time of the day, even on the weekend. And there's a lot of clientele overlap between HHS and Sheriff's Department, and so these particular clients are receiving one complete statement that lists out their individual transactions or balances, as well as any payments that are made in either office. So with any project, of course, there were some challenges. Previously, the Sheriff's Office was not allowed to do receipting, and now they can export from the WebAR and load directly into CashShore, which is the county financial system. This has enabled a lot more accuracy for their revenue coding. Another challenge is that the invoices from WebAR cannot be separated. So right now, we at the HSC are mailing all of the statements out and covering the postage. Due to COVID-19, the statistics are not comparable to the prior years. In 2020, Gina has set up approximately $245,000 for 9 months of jail stays, compared to approximately $1.1 million the prior year. Just stays at the jail are down due to COVID. And we've collected approximately 3% of this $245,000, or $7,200. So for 2021, we will continue this collaboration. There is an advanced receivable module that we've been looking at in Oracle and working on the setup. There are still some open questions that the module may not really meet our needs of actual collecting processes. So when that is right now scheduled to go live in December of 2021, and so over the next year we'll be looking at that, and at that point making a determination if we continue to utilize WebAR for the actual collection activities that are tracked. Any questions that I can answer or that Shauna can answer?
Yes, I do have a few here. So
Okay.
One, I think this is great for the fact that we are just writing off way too much of uncollected debt. That's just not excusable. And then the other side of it is, so if no payments are made within the 90 days, we are going to then file with the DOR for garnishment. We're not going for wage garnishment, we're just going for tax return garnishment on it?
Correct, just revenue recapture.
Gotcha.
What this will allow us to do is actually having a formal system in place that has legitimate dates and accurate information, unlike the Excel spreadsheet I walked into when I started. We can do revenue recapture, but we can also take our larger debts and move them to judgment. And that's something we have not ever done before. And so this system gives us an avenue to start building towards that, and if we switch to Oracle or if we stay here, we are at least on the same playing field with HHS when it comes to looking at ways to maximize the jail's revenues.
Well, and that only makes sense because it's kind of become known to the public that before that they knew that the county eventually would just write it off, you get a ding on your credit. so why they pay your jail stays, but now if we get to the point where we can get judgments on them, that they'll know that they'll be living with them in perpetuity, there's going to be some incentive for them to develop a payment plan with us. As well as the fact that I understand that this will, or maybe already has, an online payment portal where previously before we didn't have such a platform.
Eric, outside voice.
I'm sorry, I got to pull my mask down. I'm trying to decide should I have my mask on or up. I can't win with it. So those of you that just said, I said the side about this that's good is that it became known to the public that the counties, or a lot of counties, would write off their jail stay debts because they didn't have a formalized systems in place. Now with what we are doing now, we'll be able to get judgments against them, which will make this debt to us live in perpetuity. So in this case, then, there's going to be incentive for them to create payment plans with us. And then there's the side benefit that we'll have an online payment portal where previously before that was not. So there's definitely just a lot of benefits that are coming forward out of this program.
We really want to extend our thanks because Human Services was open to the idea from the beginning. We've been talking about it for a while, but it was get my hands around what's going on at the sheriff's office and pick off the problems kind of one at a time. And the jail debt just kept showing itself as something that needs to be attacked. And so Human Services was like, well, if we can make our system work for you, let's do that. And there are challenges, and they are doing our postage. We've talked about some ways to work around that. But Shelley especially has worked with Gina a ton to get her up to speed and get us up to speed. And obviously I'm not into the nuts and bolts of the system. Gina is now the expert in my office, and we reach back and forth with Human Services. We can't say enough about how gracious they've been helping us out, get stuff set up, get our training done, working through everything with us. Our first Rev Recap season, which will be this coming year, is going to be very telling for us as to kind of what we had been missing out on. I expect it to be very substantial just because I know Human Services revenue recapture cycles are also substantial, and generally we run the same kind of time.
One thing that I hope we do, and if we don't, I hope we will do, is to create some sort of a letter that we give our inmates as they leave, letting them know that these are our current practices and our practices going forward, that we will go after judgment for you on these debts. Here's the mechanisms to make the payments to you. So hopefully maybe motivating them to realize that this isn't going to go away anymore.
Correct. So we have changed some processes at the jail, and in the inmate handbook there is that information. Also, one of the things that Gina does is she watches for our reoccurring guests, and when they are here on their second visit, she will walk them down their bill. So, to have those conversations with them.
Very
Just
good.
put 3 more down this morning, so.
Yeah, she's hardcore. She's got it under control. But yes, it is going to take a little while, and I expect our first revenue recapture season to be nothing but phones blowing up because people aren't used to us following through on this. Once that starts to get out there, though, and once you start changing the rules in the jail and you actually enforce them, it goes through like wildfire, and people generally get compliance. We're never going to have 100% collection, not even close, but we can do way better than what we have been doing.
Well, we can't be in the 20 to 40%. We need to be at least well above the 50% of collections for this type
Oh,
of stuff.
can you give me a couple of years?
But
We're like around 14%.
Well, I know, but we get. But I mean,
Remember
we're going to
the
get.
clientele
The goal should be at least above 50%. This population that we're going to is never going to be in the 75 to 100%, but we can be close to the 50%.
Yeah. Let us get our hands on it, but this is an awesome start to getting our hands on it and getting those judgments in place and those kind of things.
And I thank all of you that are involved in this, because it works both ways. I mean, it helps us motivate the HHS people that for collections as well, working hand by hand on doing this. So, but you guys already had the portal, so.
No, I think it's great when we can work together with other departments. We always glean things from each other, and I think if we have something, why wouldn't we want to share it to bring the county more revenue? So we're absolutely behind it.
Thank you. Other commissioners, are any questions, comments?
Mr. Chair, This is Commissioner Burrow. It was hard to follow the entire conversation. You know, the sound isn't the greatest on these things. But I just have an overall kind of concern, whether it's with the sheriff's office and the jail or paying for child support, not child support, for foster care, things like that, where we put some of these people that are in such low-income jobs already, and then we throw a $20,000 or a $15,000 bill on top of them. It almost just makes them go underground, and then they're not productive citizens anymore. And I just think we have to make sure that we're taking that into account. I mean, it's different if you had that to somebody that's making $50,000 or $100,000 and made them pay their bill back. But some people that are making, you know, $20,000 or $30,000 a year already, and you know, just minimum wage, and then we put them into debt so far that it just seems unsurmountable to them to get out. And I just think it's a concern that we have to make sure we're not doing that, if at all.
We do have processes in both offices to mitigate debt, to take a reasonably small payment plan agreement. So even if you have a $30,000 debt and you've got $30,000 worth of income, we review that. We have those processes in place even inside the jail. Before we had a formal process with me, the jail rules require that there is a way for them to challenge any of their debt, including their medical debt, and have that waived. So we have those processes. I know Human Services has those processes within different programs to look at that, because you are right. At some point, you can make someone so overwhelmed that they aren't gaining ground. And that's certainly not by any means what Human Services or even the Sheriff's Office is about. But we do have the obligation to collect what we can. So once people become aware that we are going to be enforcing collections, I anticipate that we will see a lot more people utilizing that waiver of debt rather than just ignoring it. And then we'll really know truly what kind of debt we have on the books.
Well, one of the things I think Commissioner Burrell is speaking towards is more of a rehabilitation to reconciliation of debt, is basically stating that if you make a small $25 a month payment for us over 5 years, you stay clean, you stay to jail for 5 years, that we will reconcile your debt at that point. If you make all your payments on time, you are able to keep yourself out of jail. But we don't have such a program. But it would be developing such a program that would be a rehabilitation to reconciliation of debt.
Well, I'm glad that they're working together, the HHS and the Sheriff's Office, because I think somebody had mentioned it earlier. They both kind of serve the same people, or at times they do serve the same person. So it makes sense to collaborate and work together with them.
I think it's.
And I know we're not supposed to make sense with government, but I commend you for doing it.
Yep, I agree. Thank you.
Very good. Great information.
Yeah, thanks,
Lots more.
Christine.
This is just
Thanks,
scratching
Anna.
the surface of great things.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We'll be waiting to hear how the Rev recap goes then.
All right, we're moving right along here. We're going to go bring it back to you, Christine, to talk over the third quarter financial report.
Okay, so what I thought I would do this afternoon is to just talk about the summary, ask for any specific questions, then talk about the Mfit budget, and then go into the dashboard reports. Does that sound okay with everybody?
Works for me.
Okay, so this is for September. We were at 75% of the year. Our revenue is at 66%. You'll notice that the state is continuing to trend above where it should be and even higher than last year, as is the federal revenue. Our expenditures are at 71%, so just below the 75% for this time of the year, which is actually pretty incredible with all of the additional work that's been going on in public health. Any specific questions on any area of the long financial report?
Anyone have any questions? You can continue on.
I have none.
Go ahead, Commissioner Dodd.
No, I think he said he had none.
Oh, you had none. Oh, I thought you said you had one. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Can you see my PDF that says Mfit budget projections on it?
We are good.
Yes.
Okay, so the MFIP and DWP, I know was one of the performance measures that Jamie talked about earlier, and it is funded with both federal TANF revenue as well as state revenue. What's happened over this last year is that public health has been responding to the public health emergency, so you'll see they're sitting at only $62,000 of the $80,000 they've been allocated to provide services to this program. We did increase social services budget, which is this first line, in late June. So they've been spending and providing more support, but with the schools largely out of school for so long this spring, one of the normal services we provided has slowed down. Also with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training, their line down here that's sitting at $25,000. That is for the DWP program, which they can only provide in-house. So instead, they've switched programming and are focusing on their Mfit services. So you'll see that's at $228,000, and they've been approved to spend more than that particular line, but stay within their contract. And then finally, with the changes in the MA applications for Kim's team, the amount we receive for this particular line through the random moments is also down. So overall, the grant is sitting at about $330,000 of an almost $800,000 budget left remaining for this last quarter. So I just wanted to show a few of the impacts of how, even though we know that our residents are struggling more with COVID, they also are not able to take advantage so much of our services. Any questions on that one?
So Christine, I talked to Kim last week about potentially using some of the underallocated funds back into the county crisis funds as we end out this year and as the CARES funds are no longer available.
Yeah, so what Jamie's talking about is this $21,000 here, and I know Kim had kind of responded also is that clients aren't coming into our office, so they're not applying for the emergency needs, and they're also, because in a lot of cases not working, they're not asking for fuel cards to get them to work. So the transportation line is also down this year. So it's interesting.
Well, we certainly do not want to leave $300,000 on the table. You know, we may be forced to leave $100,000 on the table.
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye on this as we go toward the end of the year.
Okay, so now can you see the scorecard on my screen?
Yes.
Okay, as you know, we have switched to using Clear Impact instead of the graphs for our dashboard financials. We're making a few adjustments each time around. This time you're actually able to see one quarter compared to the last quarter. So here's your income maintenance random moment time study revenue. Here's the one revenue line with the little plus sign. You can actually see the pictorial graph of how that's been changing. The arrows over here show that for one quarter this amount has dropped. The next one below it shows for one quarter this amount has increased. What we added this time is also a total, and we just have it for the IMRMS. So this is all of our random moment time study revenue by quarter, so you can look at how things are changing. And so here you see quarter 1 and quarter 2 and quarter 3 have dropped. Part of that is just due to some shifting with the child support staffing, but also when we're not processing as many applications as we normally do, we have fewer applications that fall in that 75% reimbursement. So we have less of an opportunity to earn higher than 50% on our time study revenue. And then on the side here, you'll just see each quarter and the changes, whether it's up or down. Any questions on the income maintenance time study?
You know, and this just occurred to me, Christine, and maybe Kim would know, but, so if people have not been going off of MA since quite a few months now, they wouldn't be reapplying either. I imagine some people go off and go back on, but people have stayed on throughout the process for the last 6 months. Does that impact the IMRMS?
It would, because we don't have to process those reapplications.
Okay.
So I would expect that what we see now we'll receive in fourth quarter, but it's for third quarter activity, is a swing back up again because, Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you've seen a pretty substantial increase in applications in the last 2 months.
We have in MA.
So Christine, does new, or Kim, either one, so new applicants are reimbursed at a higher rate than an audit of an existing case?
No, it's not necessarily new applications. It's applicants that fall in that enhanced category, and I don't know the specifics of how you meet that criteria. I don't know, Kim or Kate, if either of you know.
I'm guessing a lot of that would be people that are involved in like caddy waivers, min-choice assessments, things of that nature.
I don't know if that's what the 75 enhancement is for.
I guess
Do you
it's,
recall what the 75 enhancement is for? That came up back when METS was started, doesn't it?
Hey, Jamie, use your outside voice.
Oh, I'm just asking Kim if she recalls what the 75, when we get reimbursed on the MA cases at 75% instead of 50%, what the basis of that enhancement is. Did that have to do with METS originally?
It did, yes.
And now it's more difficult to capture the 75% versus the 50%. Because we're basically, yeah, I'm not.
It's all based off the coding that the worker's choosing at the time, and there's so many multiple variations of coding that, I mean, we can look at the individuals and how the quarters change by workers, but yes, if there's not new cases, it is going to drop that being processed.
Okay, any other questions on the income maintenance time study?
You can go ahead.
Okay, so next you're looking at the social service time study revenue. It looks like for quarter 3, each of the revenue categories dropped. Overall, the SSTS is at about 68% of its budget. I know we were pretty aggressive in our budgeting for the 2020 year. So I think with all of the changes that have been going on, I think 68% is very reasonable.
And we
Any
hope the board
questions?
thinks so too.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I said, and we hope the board thinks so too. This is a year that we're going to, we weren't able to look at the budget in retrospect, so I would agree, 68% is okay.
Okay, so then the next one would be targeted case management. This one, you'll see, has gone the other direction. All of these revenue areas have increased the last 2 quarters. Most of them, the last 2 quarters have gone up, a couple just have hit 1. That's kind of the general trajectory. Any questions on untargeted case management? Okay. Then we have waivers. So waiver revenue overall, if you just look at the individual line items, has really done phenomenal this year. I know we've talked about for years that it's just not been meeting target, but this is one year that we set a realistic expectation and we made some changes in expectations for staff, and it's really come through. I know there's a few lines here that are showing red that it's dropped down. But it's some of the smaller lines where it doesn't make very much of a difference. You know, here's a drop from 1,200 to 978, and so it's not huge dollar amounts that for 1 quarter it's gone down. Overall, waiver is doing very well this year. We also think part of it is attributed to the fact that in a lot of cases, staff aren't traveling, so they don't have that non-billable travel time in between appointments, which is, I think, one of the factors that's also helping out for this year. Any questions on waiver? Okay. Then we have public health. So you'll see that, you know, in the second quarter, public health's general revenue dropped as their services were focused on the emergency. And now you'll see that some of this revenue is back on track. It's going back up. I know that I've heard we've been very successful this year with the immunizations. They've been able to bill weekly instead of waiting for months afterwards, so that's very positive. There's a couple of grant areas that are down, CNTC, SHIP, that we're working on. Also, public health has received almost $1.4 million from the County CARES Act for reimbursement for public health staff and expenditures related to the emergency. That's through the month of September, and we will apply both October and November to that CARES Act funding. Any questions on public health? Then the last one is the out-of-home placements. This one is kind of a fun one because you actually have to direct which way the arrow goes. So the revenue on this North Star foster care, it's green because it's going up, but in other areas like the treatment foster care, where the expenses are going up, then it's red because you don't really want the expenses to go up. But overall, our placement costs are sitting at about 71% of our budget. They've been holding below budget all year, which has been fantastic work on social services side. I think that's everything that I had to highlight. Is there any other questions that I can answer?
Any questions, anyone? Thank you, Christine, for the good information. Looks like things are going in the right direction. Let's hope we can finish the year strong here with the fourth quarter.
Do we need a motion for this one? If we do, I'll make that motion to accept that report.
I think it would be a good idea of us to accept the third quarter financial reports. With that, I'll accept a motion from Commissioner Dahlheiden.
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Husum. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Commissioner Burrell?
Burrell votes aye.
Commissioner Dahlheiden?
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Newsom?
Aye.
And aye. Thank you, Christine, for those financial reports. They are approved unanimously.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Moving to the last item today, we will go to the director's comments.
Sure.
Jamie, I'll swing it back to you.
And as Christine ended up talking about out-of-home placement, Michelle did have some information that was requested by the board regarding comparison placement rates in some populations. And I think our issue was we weren't sure if we could drill down to Wright County versus at the state level. So Michelle, did you have a slide to share on that one?
I do. So I believe the two pieces of information were urban versus rural, and that's not information that...
I believe it was Commissioner Potter's question, and he's not here, but
Correct.
in any event.
And the other question was getting race ethnicity information, and I do have a slide to show. Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't getting my whole screen here. I apparently have way too many things open.
Been there, done that.
Okay. So you should be seeing my screen across the top. It says race, ethnicity breakdown with rates per 1,000 children. There's a lot of information on the screen. So I think what's most helpful, this is Wright County information. If you look at the far right column where it says 2019, and what I will do as we look at these rates, I'm going to quickly flip to the next slide, which is Minnesota's data. But because we can't show two slides at once, I will just focus on Wright County, and then I will verbally compare to what the rates are across Minnesota. We did have a lovely colored bar chart that I was excited to share. However, the data on that slide is only Minnesota data, and it's actually, it uses a different population of kids. For that slide, it is kiddos that are under 18, and for this slide, it's kids that are under age 20. So I'm not sure why SSIS or Tableau does that, but we're going to focus on this slide. So if you look across the very right hand, or the very left hand column has the racial titles and breakdowns, and then if you go over to the far right, it gives you the rate per 1,000. So this screen, the data point is number of CP reports that we've received and screened. So for African American and Black families in Wright County, our rate is 105.8%. For Minnesota, it's 92.6%. So we are higher in Wright County. For American Indian, you can see our rate is 162. The Minnesota rate is 200.8, so we are significantly lower. For the Asian Pacific Islander population, Wright County is a little bit higher. The Minnesota rate is 18.5%. For Hispanic, any race, Wright County is lower. The Minnesota rate is 74.4%. For two or more races, Minnesota is 178, so a fair amount higher than Wright County. And for the white population, Minnesota's rate is 46.2, so we are a little bit lower. So I don't know if that information is helpful. It was definitely interesting. There's also another Tableau data point that also gives race ethnicity breakdown. It is the number of placements per race, and I was going to share that information as well. However, because Wright County has such low placement numbers, There was no it wasn't statistically significant. So I take that as being good news. So are there any questions about this information?
Yeah, Michelle?
Yes.
On the all groups, I didn't hear if you said how we compare to the state. Because on all groups, on an average, we're 63.9 per thousand.
And Minnesota is 65.9.
We're slightly below.
Okay, so
Just a little
not
bit.
that much lower than the state itself.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Any other questions?
Michelle did collect a lot of other information that she shared with the supervisors, and if we're having a second meeting this month, that might be a good time for her to bring some of that back. It's good info.
You know what would be interesting is when the state collects those datas, if they omit the top two and the bottom two when figuring their averages, because you could take like a Beltrami County who would throw it way out of whack, and then you could take like a Roseau County and do the opposite and be way out of whack as well, just because you have a very small Clear Lake or Clearwater County where they have a very small population, and you could have a Beltrami that just has a very whacked out
Right.
kind of.
Well, in child protection numbers, we do see a lot of not statistically, because they don't have enough at all, like zero. So in those cases, they are thrown out, but you're right, on the other end of the spectrum, they're in there.
Okay, so they are used, but like some of your really small counties that have 6,000 people that don't have any cases, they're probably omitting those, but they're taking your
Big
Beltrami
counties,
County
yeah.
that has just an enormous percentage per thousand of out-of-home placements, and they're using those numbers now.
And we're mostly concerned at this point, we're just kind of, I think, looking at it. I think probably public health is as interested as anybody to see how we're comparing between races when we're looking at things like placement. It's just one data point amongst all kinds of other data points. But I think it's good for us to start looking at this and using this data to see if we need to refine how we do some of our practices to make sure that, why would we have a higher placement rate in one area versus another area? So, I mean, it's a rhetorical question. I'm not really looking for an answer, but I think it's something for us to be looking at.
But at least looking at the numbers, I mean, we're all within
Yep.
a relative close norm to the state.
I
So
would agree.
it doesn't show that we're doing any kind of practice or anything different than
Right.
that of the other 87 counties across the state.
I totally agree. I did have thank you, Michelle.
Yes, you're welcome.
A couple of other items, just FYI, the WOW van was on loan to Ridgeview in Delano for a number of months in their response, and we are getting that back from them, and we'll be using the WOW van for our COVID response as we get ready to do some type of vaccine distribution. You should have a handout that looks like this, and I don't think the board on the online can see me, but it's the handout that has a lot of white on it and a kind of a green ball on the left-hand side. This is just information coming from the saliva testing 3-day event that occurred in Monticello, and you can see that total they had appointments for 1,298 people. We had 16 people waitlisted, 270 missed their appointment. However, we did get results on 1,012, which is a really good number because this came up really fast. Of those,
Snowstorm.
what's that?
It was during the snowstorm.
During the snowstorm, exactly. And of those, almost 91% were negative, about 9% were positive, and the test wasn't performed on 2% or 0.2%. So that gave us a picture in time of what that looked like. But a great event, and I think again a lot of people got out and was able to meet people's needs from our area. Also, you have in your handout.
And Jamie, can I make one quick comment on
Yep.
that? You know what's interesting of that just snapshot is of that 8.98%, how many of them were showing no significant symptoms?
Yeah, so I asked for that data. I know they got it for the St. Cloud site, and I haven't gotten it back.
Because I'm guessing a large number of that 8.98 were people that tested that came in there that weren't showing any significant symptoms.
So I can tell you from the St. Cloud one that was the week before, the positivity rate for asymptomatic people was 2% when they broke it out. So overall, it was like ours. It was like 9. But when they stepped out, because they ask you if you're feeling it.
And the one group that had no symptoms was 2% positive, the other group went up to 15.
Okay,
So it's actually not as many asymptomatic people as,
okay. So,
I think people are experiencing mild symptoms.
mild symptoms, which I guess it would have been, because I'm guessing nobody with severe symptoms came and did that testing probably that, you know, so.
There was one lady who was pretty ill who was testing right before me. I was surprised, but that's the, you know, they also don't want to go, I mean, there are a lot of people who don't want to go to the doctor unless they absolutely have to.
Interesting.
We also had a very, I would say successful, I don't have the numbers on it, but we ran the flu clinic as well, out of, I think, the highway department, and for the employee flu clinic, and that was very well attended. And then last time we were here, you also, and I believe some of the questions were from Commissioner Vetch. So we have, and this was provided to you already in an email, so this is just so you have your hands on it. It shows the 2019 to 2020 seasonal flu and then the COVID-19 data. And it also includes information regarding the cases. Sarah, before, she's back now, she won't want to present on it, but obviously you've seen on the news, we've seen everywhere that COVID-19 is surging. We've had 3,883 case increase in the last 7 days. So that increase of those is 830 in the last 7 days. So almost, I would say, close to 1,000. Yesterday or today, however they do the calculation, 22 additional deaths. 24 people are currently hospitalized. Is that in
That's our people.
Wright County?
They're not in Wright County, they're Wright County residents.
Wright County residents
We
that
have
are
people all over Wright County
hospitalized.
because of the hospital.
So that's our data that's occurring right now. And I believe that is all my director's comments, unless you have any questions, or if Sarah would like to add anything else.
Answer question. Hold on.
Going once,
Yeah.
going twice. If there's no other business to attend to today, we will adjourn the Health and Human Services meeting here at 12:46. All right.
Thank you.
Or sorry, 2:46. I said 12. Thank you.